Hi, crafty friends. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a water globe card made with the new Mama Elephant set, Deliver Summer Vibes. I was inspired by a water globe that my kid has, and for this card, I decided to try something a little bit different. I made a water globe card in the past before, but used actual water, but it ended up leaking, so I wanted to do something hopefully better. And what I ended up with was using gel, and you'll see that as I squished my water globe, it has this nice squishy kind of look to it, and I really liked how it turned out. My main image is the bunny in the beach chair, and I used some Lawn Fawn pattern paper to serve as my background. And for the sand, I colored some cardstock with Copic markers. To make the water globe feature, I had a Ziploc bag, some clear hair gel, and glitter. The first thing I did was I filled up the bag with some gel, and here I'm just adding a little bit more and adding a little bit more glitter because it wasn't squishing as much as I wanted it to. So it's pretty easy. You just fill it up, seal the bag, and also try to push out the air bubbles. And once I've sealed it pretty well, I just squish all the glitter around to spread it out. And this part is actually the most fun because it's so squishy and fun to play with. The next thing I need to do is to make sure that nothing is going to spill in the future. So I grab my hair straightener and heat seal the end. Hopefully this will prevent any spillage. To create the sentiment, I am going to white heat emboss the sentiment onto black cardstock. And I wanted to bend the sentiment a little bit because my strip is curved. So I grab a piece of acetate and I place it onto my sentiment banner in order to shape it. And the reason why this acetate is there is because it will cling onto the stamp and hold it in place while I shape it. And that way, when my stamping platform picks up the stamp, it will be in that shape. I really hope that made sense, but you can see what I did. Let me know if you have any questions about that in the YouTube comments. The last step after heat embossing is just to wipe away the excess powder from my powder tool. Now I'm going to be creating the actual compartment to hold the gel packet. And for this, I have to line up the arch globe and figure out where to place my sand. So you'll just see here that I'm kind of marking and trying to figure out where to place the sand so that I can see a little hint of the sand, but also that dark blue, I wanted to make it kind of like the ocean. If you look really closely, you're going to see that my background panel actually looks different from my finished product. And that's because after I had created this original striped background panel, I realized that the embossed lines were not very um, clear. And I ended up having to switch out the panel to the quilted cover from Mama Elephant. But I left this part in here because this shows how I actually created the compartment. At this point, I'm just layering up the frames to create some dimension. So just layer them up, glue them together, put my silver glitter cardstock on the front because I wanted some sparkle. And then I'm going to get my frame ready. So you can see here I pulled out the background panel and I'm just adding double-sided tape around the edges of the opening. So my idea here was I was going to create this overhang of adhesive. So that way the frame can stick onto this overhang of adhesive like a little ledge and it'll hold my frame in place. So it ended up working the way I thought it was going to work, which was great, except I did have to trim away some extra adhesive, but that was very easy to do. So now I'm just making sure that the adhesive is sticking firmly onto that frame because that's all that is. That's going to be holding the frame to the card. Here I'm just checking to make sure that everything is centered up and the edges of my gel packet aren't showing through the side. So if you ever do this, I would recommend making sure that the Ziploc bag is bigger than your opening. I did not have a larger bag at the time and I was too lazy to go out and buy some. So I just worked with what I had and I was very lucky that it barely fit. And well, it fit well enough to make this card work. A note about this foam tape that I'm using, I found this foam tape, it's a thicker foam tape from Michaels. So I know that a lot of times it's hard well, I know for me, it's hard to make shaker cards and dimensional cards when my foam tape is too thin. And so I was pretty excited to find this gigantic roll of thicker foam tape at my local craft store. So that's what I'm using here because the gel packet is thicker than your usual shaker card. I use some double stick tape to glue the gel packet inside so it won't shift around too much. And then once I have everything centered up where I want it to be, I am going to set the final piece of double stick foam tape. Now it is a little too thick for what I need, so I put the foam tape on some parchment paper and cut it in half with my scissors. I find that putting it on parchment paper to cut makes it a lot easier and it doesn't gum up my scissors. This was a trick that I learned from watching some Mama Elephant videos in the past. So thanks, Rena and Peggy. After lining up my background panel with the globe on it, I just stick it on, I peel off the adhesive, and I put the sentiment onto the globe. But before I do that, I noticed I had some stray white embossing powder on the little banner. So I just grabbed my black Copic marker. You can just use a black Sharpie, and I just carefully colored in those little white dots. So it works in a pinch. I wouldn't have to stamp it again. And it's all done. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and are challenged to make your own version of a water globe card.